Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Mills, and today I'd like to present for you some research which arose through my doctoral investigation into the historical precedents of contemporary immersive artistic experiences.
Yeah.
Do you want me to carry on?
If you just hold on a sec, Joe, we just need to
Okay, no problem.
Very good to go. Okay, if you want to try now, Joe, I think.
Yep. Okay. Where was I? My research considers how advances in technology towards the end of the 20th century led both to new affordances and immersive experiences at the intersection of art, design, and technology, and came into their own during the COVID-19 pandemic through the creation of innovative, engaging works and spaces for communication and collaboration. Here, the concept of the expanded narrative describes the relationship between audience artwork and the space in which it is situated. The narrative and its connection to world building as a way of understanding and constructing a meaningful encounter can be further expanded to encompass an experience as understood within this investigation. In both the written narrative and the artistic sense, this involves the creation of scenarios in which to immerse the audience. The concept of world building extends through open world computer-based spaces such as Second Life and Minecraft, which continue to be active spaces for both audiences and creatives. In this way, the virtual is a contemporary form of active space. The ways in which audiences engage with such spaces suggest that our experiences with computer-based communication, information, and games has led to a gamification of arts and culture, which allows both for a sense of ease and familiarity with navigation and experience of screen-based works and for engaging new audiences. By acknowledging the move towards screen-based experiences and restrictions associated with the pandemic, this gamification of culture brings art and culture to new audiences. Taking as a reference point Peter Berger's theory of the avant-garde, which was written in the 1970s and places the audience in the active role of recipient of the meaning of the work, and Boris Gray's observation that the internet allows for the realization of the avant-garde impulse, with art as data being placed in the context of reality. This investigation presents the expanded narrative as arising from the incorporation of three elements. Firstly, active space, implying a purposefully selected, constructed, or controlled environment. Such spaces include installation artworks or environments. Secondly, collaboration between disciplines, between creator and audience, or between individuals. And finally, an active audience undertaking an exploratory or participative role. A subjective relationship or expanded narrative between an active audience and artwork allows for the freedom to create individual understanding and interpretation through participation and engagement within the boundaries of the work or performance. While the participation and engagement of an active audience traditionally resided within physical spaces, the advancement towards digital forms of practice brought new methods of enabling audience involvement. Towards the end of the 20th century, artists were looking to the potential of computers and the internet to realize their ideas. The net art movement was inexpensive and accessible to anyone with a computer, modem, and internet connection. Together with new media art, artists were able to produce responses to the advance of information technology and digital culture. The movement from interactivity within physical spaces to those digitally created and/or enhanced and held within a computer marks a shift from the audience being present in the same location as work towards the virtual as a hybrid space between the physical and the digital, where through technology, the space of the spectator is extended beyond the screen. Early forms of virtual spaces were presented within small cinema attractions between the 1970s and 1990s, such as the Omnimax Theatre or IMAX Dome, which showed films projected onto the curved ceiling of the venue. Experiences Examples of the virtual experiences of the type we would recognise today arising out of research commercial development includes the 1988 View or Virtual Interface Environment Workstation, flight simulators providing virtual recreations of real situations and locations, and the Cave Automatic Vision Environment, a room-sized immersive display. Virtual spaces provided a platform for artists and composers seeking to create new and innovative works. While some composers and artists utilised existing commercial platforms, such as Pauline Oliveros, who embraced the potential of the virtual performance and collaboration through her work with the Avatar Orchestra Metaverse as her Avatar Free Noise, including her 2008 recreation of the 1999 work Heart of Tones, in which orchestra members wore a specially designed virtual instrument. Others push technology in new directions to develop bespoke spaces in which to engage and immerse the audience. For example, Char Davis, who uses virtual reality as a means to juxtapose the natural with the artificial experience, arguing the case of art and psychological experience. Davies' work, for example, Osmose, suggests that by enabling an immersant to inhabit an alternative computer-generated unreal space, psychological effects can include experiencing changing sensations of time. The immersant is thus required to experience the virtual space as if it was an actual physical space, with engagement encouraged through familiar bodily functions to create a sense of embodiment within the constructed space. The digitally constructed virtual space allows for new forms of experiences and performances, where intuitive interfaces encourage and welcome the exploration and action of the audience. According to Elizabeth Menon, this action is shaped by the collaboration between the artwork and user, leading to the potential of different experiences with each encounter. The audience experiences a liminal space bridging the real and the unreal by means of computer peripherals such as a mouse or keyboard, sensors, or in the case of the virtual environment Second Life through an avatar, as represented by a Venn diagram where the physical and the digital exist independently. Virtual world exists somewhere between both realms, where the interface acts as a portal, allowing the audience to explore a constructed digital space. These virtual spaces allow the creator to be in complete control of the staging of a work. The means of communication and interaction as opened up by cyberspace and digital technology enabled new forms of creation and participation. The growth in the development and adoption of online platforms, both for culture and for work, can also be seen in the use of web communication tools, including Microsoft Teams and Zoom for meetings, collaborations, and events. Replacing physically face-to-face communication with an embodied virtual and remote online presence requires the use and movement of an avatar within a 3D environment, such as that presented by Second Life and GatherTown, the web conferencing software launched in 2020, which through its top-down view of a virtual room, navigated using the arrow keys, calls to mind action-adventure computer games such as The Legend of Zelda. Similarly, Swift is an online cycling and running program which allows users to pair their equipment with the software to train and race against others within a virtual world. Exploration and interaction within these virtual spaces draws parallels with open world games such as Assassin's Creed. The gameplay in early installments in particular places the player at the centre of the narrative as an initiate in a fictional organisation accessing the memories of the protagonist they then control through the game. The camera angle shows a third-person viewpoint from an angle behind the character. However, connection between the player and the character is ensured through free movement, making tactical decisions on gameplay and character customization. The movement towards innovative online spaces and the need for telematic yet engaging experiences as a result of the pandemic suggests a move towards gamification within culture, drawing parallels between the ways that computer games and screen-based experiences engage and immerse the audience, particularly through the use of a keyboard or controller and screen. This play-based interaction calls to mind Roy Ascott's concept of behaviourist artworks, which challenge the traditional relationship between active viewing subjects and passive art objects by creating interactive behavioural context for remote aesthetic encounters. Requiring game-like participation from an audience, for example, the navigation of Geoffrey Shaw's narrative landscape and Legible City, which utilise a joystick and bicycle respectively. The lockdowns and social distancing as a result of the COVID pandemic saw new forms of innovative and remote digital experiences, experiential art and performative spaces develop, leading to new interactions between human and technology. While it was not possible to have physically engaging experiences, digitally augmented technology experienced a resurgence, perhaps becoming even more essential than at the turn of the century. In November 2020, the International Council of Museums suggested that 6.1% of museums had closed globally as a result of the pandemic. In the same month, Innovate UK published a blog post reflecting on that year's Beyond conference and on the cultural impact of COVID-19, which noted that the timing of the pandemic occurred at a peak time for immersive visual technologies. This had allowed for hybrid experiences and thus a potential for innovation in the creation of engaging yet safe performances. Further, a poll of attendees considered the impact of lockdown on audience engagement and found that while audiences were missing being part of a collective experience, a defining cultural outcome of the pandemic was the use of digital technology for live performance and distribution, highlighting the creative responses to the situation which aim to address the widening gap between culture and audiences, while also recognising that screens have increasingly become our windows on the outside world. While prior to COVID, heritage attractions and education institutions such as the Natural History Museum and the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum had extended their physical footprint into online spaces through websites or virtual space in order to reach wider audiences, access issues created by the pandemic naturally led to further overlap between technology, arts and culture. For example, the Peel in Baltimore, whose Second Life representation replicates the original building and hosts exhibitions, tours and events, and allowed virtual visitors to explore from their own homes as avatars. The Royal Shakespeare Company's production of Dream, a live performance set in a virtual forest inhabited by actors in motion capture suits, accompanied by an interactive score which responded to their movements. And in August 2021, the Falco Alexander Gallery in Cologne recreated its gallery and created exclusively virtually accessible content, which enabled the venue to both extend the reach of its physical exhibitions and provide a temporary archive of the digital versions. By continuing to place the audience at the centre of the work, yet changing where and when that relationship takes place, a new era of immersive possibilities is possible, where remote engagement replaces the physical. So digital technology has allowed for new forms of immersive practice and new spaces in which to create, perform, collaborate and experience. The need to create ever more immersive and thus productive integration and engagement of remote participants is exemplified by the recreation of Facebook as Meta in 2021, incorporating a range of VR and AR technologies to enable connection and exploration for immersive learning, innovation, connection and exploration within the metaverse. While there are many positive aspects of digitally augmented online experiences, for example, travelling through time and space to other locations and historical periods, and reducing emissions related to travel for work and leisure, as the obverse to this almost utopian viewpoint of an online digital society and to provide balance, it is relevant to consider that not all outcomes of our increasingly online society are positive. While access to mobile digital technologies has the potential to enrich and enhance everyday life, it also redefines concepts of privacy and personal identity by subjecting users to control and surveillance, including cookies tracing movement across the internet and the collection of personal details. However, the growth of online platforms has enabled global access to methods of engaging with or creating content. Further benefits during lockdown included remote learning for pupils and students of all ages in response to the growing requirements for social distancing and lockdowns during the pandemic. To conclude, it is testament to the continued relevance of immersive technologies that our once communal social experiences have been and continue to be replaced by shared yet disparate spaces. Online gaming in place of arcades, social media in place of clubs and societies, and video conferencing technology used for conversation and collaboration. Our digital selves now go where our physical bodies cannot. In this way, we have become part of the machine, our souls and atoms becoming bytes and pixels, allowing us to exist beyond our geographical and physical limitations, to participate in the arts, culture, and other experiences which have led on from these innovations. Thank you for the opportunity to share my research with you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joe. So we've got time for one short question, if anyone has one.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that a lot of the discourse is around the gamification of art and culture. And actually, I wonder if that could be reframed slightly, and we could talk about the artification of game. It strikes me that there is a that is a sort of a mutual discourse between the two elements. And I think I would like to see that mentioned more.
Okay. Well, as I say, this was part of my doctoral investigations. There's definitely room that I'd like to explore this a lot more. So yeah, I'd like to take that into consideration.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jo. That's great.
Thank you.